But at last it was time to go back to see to their animals. The women, they loaded themselves and they set out to cross the river. But Sibia hung back. She wanted to waste time so that she could go to the caves to see those little cups which she wanted to paint and use them. And the women, they were not, although they were tired, they still talked a lot and they yelled and disappeared into the trees. They had crossed the river safely and they disappeared into the track, up the track into the trees on the other side. And Sibia is left alone. There was silence. It was evening time, and evening time was coming up at the gorge, and it was the pink and ultraviolet shadows everywhere, setting sun time, and the water poured almost invisible among the stones. So, water was not visible because of the shadows, because of the setting sun, and with no reflections there. Sibia stepped onto the first stone, and she was carrying the heavy weight. She was not only carrying the dry grass, but also there was the hay fork which was digging into the collarbone very close to her skin. And although she had she had a pad made out of a bunch of sari on her head to carry this hay fork, but still this hay fork and the grass was there at her back and it was piercing into the collarbone. And she was halfway over, but she was now very tired, and therefore she just put her load down on a big boulder, the round rock, to rest, and she leaned over it and for breathing on the hay fork. At the same moment, something happened. A Gujar woman came down with two gharas to the water on the other side to get the clean water, maybe for drinking and something, and she wanted to get the water, clean water without sand. She walked into the stepping stones, therefore, and there was a crocodile, we know that, and this crocodile, he lunged. Lunged at means he moved forward to attack this woman, and he just came out of this darkling water because the water was invisible. It was evening time now, setting sun, so darkling water heaved the great reptile. He lifted himself from the water, and water slushing off him, his livid jaws yawning, and all his teeth they flashed to make a slit at the leg of this woman. The woman screamed, dropped both the brass pots with a clatter on the boulder. The sound clatter was the sound when the brass pots they fell on the boulder, the rocks, big rocks, and whence they bounced to the water and they bobbed away. They just moved away in the current. So it was a loss. So Sibia saw them moving away and she exclaimed, "Oh, the two good vessels gone." And the Gujar woman recoiled. She drew back from the crocodile to save herself, but his jaws they closed at her leg at the same moment and she slipped and fell on the bone breaking stone because she fell with a thud. So it was as if the bones were broken. So she fell on the bone breaking stone. So she held on to one of the timber logs to save herself. The logs were there between the two boulders, which were jammed between the two boulders. So she kept on clinging to it, screaming while Crocodile was pulling her, and he was threshing his mighty tail, bang, bang, to and fro. Okay, he wanted to drag this woman and to carry her off into the deeps of the pool where he would devour her, he would eat her, and blood spread everywhere. And Sibia, looking at this, shows her heroism. Here we see Sibia in a different heroic mood. She, from boulder to boulder, she came leaping like a rock goat. Boulder means large, smooth rock. She came leaping like a rock goat. Mountain goats. Sometimes she had seemed difficult to cross these stones, especially the big gap in the middle where the river coursed through the like a bulge of glass. But now she came on wings. Look at the image given here for Sibia, how she moved very quickly. She reacted in quickness and to save the women. And she came on as if on wings, choosing her footing in the midair without even thinking about it. In one moment, she was beside the shrieking. Shrieking is shouting at high pitch. The women were shouting at high pitch because she was in pain. So Sibia reached there in a moment. In the boiling bloody water, because the blood was spread all over the water, the face of the crocodile fastened around her leg, was tugging to and fro, and as if he was smiling. Her eyes rolled onto Sibia. His eyes rolled onto Sibia. One slap of tail could kill her, and he struck up shot the water 20 feet and fell like a silver chain. Again and again he slashed, he shot up the water, he slapped the tail into the water. He wanted the women to move from there, he wanted to carry the women along, and the rock jumped under the blow. But in the daily heroism of jungle, as common as the thorn tree, Sibya did not hesitate. She aimed at Reptile's eyes. With all the force of her little body, she drove the hare fork at the eye. One prong. It went into right in, okay, and past the horny cheek. And Crocodile was in pain. He rose high, reared up. He rose high in convulsion in the violent movement till half of his body was out of the water and tail and nose nearly meeting over his stony back. And then he crashed back, exploding the water. Uproar of bloody foam, he disappeared. He would not die now, but his death would be known after so many days, because after his death, his stomach would be blown with gas. It would float him, and he will be found among these logs with the pus in the eyes, where Sibya had put one prong into the right into his eye. Now Sibya got her arms around the fainting woman. She is careful in taking her out, dragged her out from the water, stopped her wound, bound them with rag, helped her home to the encampment. And these men were worried, so they gathered around to carry her for treatment. Sibya went back now after this for getting the grass, dry grass, and sickle and fork. And the fork was lying in the river, children, and it was not carried away, luckily for her. She picked it up. There she saw the blue bead, which is mentioned in the beginning of the story, the blue bead which was lying near the crocodile. Now she saw that. Although the bead was not looking blue now, because sun was nearly gone, and it had no color actually, but it was wobbling. It was moving unsteadily in the water. She reached her arm down there, but due to refraction, she missed it once. Then she again wet her palm, and it was lying there, and she got it, and it was pierced, and it was as if with the sunset inside it. Sunset shuffled means sunset had moved about inside it like gold dust. All her heart went up in flames of joy. She was so excited. She was so happy to find this bead. After all, this is what she wanted. After which she twisted it into the top of her skirt she was wearing. She turned it. She put it there in the skirt, and she turned it so that it would not fall. She picked up her fork, sickle, and her heavy grass and set off home. What a day. She's so happy to get the blue bead. And her bare feet, they were making marks over there, and there were wriggle marks of snakes also in the dust. She was bare feet, and now and there were the singing of malaria mosquitoes among the trees. This track was also used by old Makna elephant and the tuskless one. The tusk might have been taken by the hunters, but now Sibya was not thinking of any of these. The stars came out, and she noticed, and on the way back she met her mother. The mother was worried. She had come out. She scolded her, but she said, "I did not see till I was home that you were not there. I thought something might have happened to you." Mother was worried. But what was the reaction of Sibya? She said, "Something did happen to me, mother. I found a blue bead for my necklace. Look." So happily, she told her story, and she was happy to find finally a blue bead for her necklace. So children, go through the workbook explanation for the story to get more information about it and learn for the answers.